Welcome back, baby. Welcome to the Bears Den, a collaboration of WARR Media and SportsZone Chicago. I'm your boy, the Superback Sean Sierra, and I'm with my man Joe Tanksley. Joe, what's up, Papa? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Can't complain. Excited about this, this upcoming draft. And with the possibilities for the Bears, it seems like number one's already been taken care of, but there's a lot of questions about that second pick.
There is, you know what? It's draft week. All right, it's draft week. It's got everybody excited. I'm fired up about it. Um, it could be one of the most pivotal drafts in the franchise history of the Chicago Bears. We definitely are getting a new quarterback. But what else are we getting this weekend? We're going to find out, and I'm excited. And our guest today, we're going to bring him on in a moment. He's been on the show once or twice. He's been on my show once or twice as well. All right. He's down there at NBC Sports Chicago. He's our lead draft analyst. All right. You can find him on Twitter at True Glynn Morgan. Guys, let's welcome back to SportsZone Chicago, Glynn Morgan. Glynn, what's up, Papa? Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Wherever you are in the world.
Right.
It's 9 o'clock somewhere else in the world, a different type of sunset, right? Or sunrise. I feel you. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I'm, as you mentioned, just trying to make the rounds. I'm kind of like a nomad, right? No pun intended. No disrespect, nomad out there, but I'm just kind of like a gypsy, I guess you say, just out there, just going from place to place, man. But good to see you here and be with you guys. Appreciate you having me. And hey, man, let's get to it.
So Thursday, all right. The draft starts this Thursday. NFL draft is Thursday, April 25th. Begins 7:00 Central Time. Coming from the D. All right, for all my people in Detroit, they're all fired up over at 8 Mile. All right, Motown, wherever you want to call it, Motor City. All right, I'm excited as well. The Bears have the number 1 overall pick. The Bears traded their former quarterback Justin Fields, which opens the doorway. Yeah, I'm still not happy about that. Don't get me started, Glenn. I've been very good with it today, so don't get me fired up. Okay. But so it looks like we're going to have a new quarterback, and all indications point to Caleb Williams. Your thought on it most likely being Caleb Williams with the first pick?
Sure. Actually, I put thumbs down, not so much because I have anything against Caleb, and not because I think Justin is, the best quarterback that's ever been known to mankind.
Quarterbacking, yeah.
I believe in structure, so on and so forth, but not to go on that tangent. The question is about Caleb because that's where we're going, and I've actually begun to really warm up to who I believe the person is to be, or the person is, and as we're getting to know him to be, I should say. And he's a different cat, man. He beats to a different drum. I think athletically, and let's talk about that first. I don't think we have any questions about his ability to be effective on the field. We're talking about a quarterback who has shown proficiency with the two teams. Now, granted, it's the same system, but he's been in 2 different teams, which means 2 different groups of teammates, and he's been proficient with both of them. We're talking over the last 2 years, like about 8,000 yards, 72 touchdowns, double-digit touchdown, rushing touchdowns. So an athletic guy, a guy who is very decisive. We've always talked, and you hear about the elasticity of his arm, his ability to be very creative and spontaneous on the field. And a very determined person, who wants to win like we all do. Sometimes he's been chided for how emotionally tied he is to winning. He may have a reaction on the field, but hey, we see it during March Madness, so no slight there. But to the person, I think that was where some more of the questions may have been for a lot of people, but especially when you talk about Justin Field and how we've grew to know him over the last several years, and just to a man at Hallis Hall, be it the janitor, be it the front office people, his own teammates, how much they have an affinity for him, his personality, and just how great a person he is, so on and so forth. So with Caleb, it's a bit of an unknown. And I think from the outside, he seemed a bit narcissistic. You put a person with this panache in a place like LA, he seemed to be a little LA, all those narratives that you keep on a person, you don't really know them, and you're just looking from the outside. Recently, if anyone gets a chance, I'm not necessarily trying to promote anybody else's stuff here, but I caught him with Ryan Clark and Fred Taylor and Channing Crowder on the pivot. And it was a really good interview. You really get to see, you get more of an insight as to who he is, more of a background, where he came from. And the thing that stood out to me the most was just how uber focused he is and has been since like adolescence. Which is different. It almost seems a little unhealthy to be that focused at that young age.
Todd Marinovich, like,
but from him, not because of the parent. You know what I mean? Like with Marinovich, it was like a stage.
His dad. Yeah,
exactly. And you can see Marinovich wasn't really into it as much. He went through it and all, but you tell his passion wasn't there. Well, this is Caleb. This is Caleb saying, "This is what I want," and this is his parents not simply acquiescing, but helping him and then supporting him and doing everything and all that they can. But you just hear how self-aware he is and has been for some time, how comfortable he is in his own skin. And what really stood out was when he was, and again, if you haven't seen it, just a brief snippet, he mentioned how in high school, he was living in his own apartment, away from his folks because for the travel, so on and so forth. And
hour and a half in, yeah.
Yeah, right, with traffic an hour and a half in, that the parents would trust you as senior. I mean, so many things could go wrong so many different ways, and we just think about ourselves and most of the friends that we know. If you're 17 in a major city and you got a place in your own, who knows what types of shenanigans, so on and so forth, could happen.
Yeah, let's call them shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans. but just how uber focused he was and still is, and I think that was something I didn't really expect, and just how business oriented he is about the whole thing, and he's able to compartmentalize the business part, but still have the drive and determination to be the athlete and still have the love for the game and not have lost that. That's unique, but I think he can do that because he has other interests outside of football too. So I think he's able, and I mentioned the word compartmentalize, and I think he's able to do that with so many different things, so he can enjoy things in the moment and be in the moment. And I think that's going to play well in the field when he has to be in those moments when we need him to be the quarterback that the Bears and the rest of us are expecting him to be.
It's going to be interesting. It would be a complete shocker somewhere out of left field if he's not selected number 1 overall. Right. I'm sure Washington is trying to make a pitch for him. I'm sure, just the hometown guy, and it seems like Ryan Poles either sends it right to voicemail or has his assistant pick up or block them all together. So moving forward,
sure,
say it comes to fruition like we all think it will, and Caleb is the number 1 overall pick. Give me your thoughts on what your expectations would be this year. He's stepping into a phenomenal situation. Most likely the best situation a number 1 overall quarterback has ever stepped to in the history of the NFL. The Bears had 7 wins last year. Could have had up to 10. Okay. And even if they had 10, would this change have been made? I don't know. We'll see, because that first pick had nothing to do with us, with our record. It had to do with the Panthers. And so we're looking at, a lot of Bear fans saying we should have had at least 8, but possibly 10 victories and a playoff spot. What are your expectations for this young man coming in with a DJ Moore, with a Keenan Allen, with a Cole Kmet, with an upgrade in the running back room, with a true center now, with backups, with depth on the offensive line, with an improved defense? What are your expectations coming into this year if he is the pick?
Yeah, not to mention the 9th pick overall, and that could turn out to be an offensive weapon as well, and also strength of schedule where it's you've got a last place schedule. My expectations are very limited in a minute way. Playoffs, man. That's what I'm expecting. I don't want anything less than that. Are you kidding me? No, he wants to be legendary. So now it's time to be legendary. No, really, I don't see any reason why we and he and the team can't be. Not to, we forgot to mention too, a new offensive coordinator, a veteran offensive coordinator.
Bingo.
Which again, you and I talk so much, Sean, about how important coaching is, how necessary it is to success in football, both offensively and defensively. Your coordinators are tantamount to the success of any NFL team. And I'll say when it comes to the quarterback position, it is the most important position in all of team sports. I don't care the sport. In all of team sports, it is the most important position. Keep in mind, ironically, however, it is the most interdependent position in all of team sports too.
Right.
Everybody's got to do their job, from the coaches to your teammates to the equipment manager, okay, for you to be successful. So but I do expect playoffs. You have a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver in Keenan Allen. You have a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver in DJ Moore. You have a Pro Bowl caliber tight end in Cole Kmet. You have a very capable backup tight end, so you've got depth there. You have really two good athletic tackles who are improving each year. The interior of the offensive line still concerns me. The centers should be better. Our quarterback should not be playing center field or shortstop when they hike the ball. So I think
That's
that
for
might
starters.
be an upgrade there. But there's depth in the running back room. You have running backs who all three can catch the ball. One's a better route runner. Two can score from anywhere from 60, 70 yards out. You have a very good top 10 defense, and I'm saying that conservatively. I really think they have the ability to be a top 5 defense, getting better, and that's without the other edge rusher that we're hoping that they can acquire either through the draft or free agency. They need a little more depth here and there, but for the most part, the defense is pretty stacked. And I expect them to be a lot better. These guys, most of these guys are going into the second season, or some other guys are going into the third season in this defense. So I expect them to just be getting better. So a defense that can help you whenever you make mistakes, and the special teams looks to be solid as well. So yeah, man, I don't see any reason why they can't be competitive. Last year they went 2-4 in the division and very easily should have been 3-3. The coaching, I think, cost them the first game in Detroit. So if you can do what the Bears did last year, I know each year is different. I understand that unequivocally, every year is different. However, there are progressions and regressions, and the Bears are on the upswing. And I don't see any outside of the quarterback, and the depth there is a big issue. That being said, outside of the question mark at quarterback, I don't see any reason why we can't. There has been precedent set. This is as recently as last year with Stroud, and Caleb's going to enter a situation where he has more talent than Stroud did. And Stroud did it in a division that they weren't supposed to compete in at all. It's supposed to be the Jaguars division, in a conference that was the most competitive conference entering last year that we had ever seen. No one, I don't even think the people in Houston were talking about Houston making the playoffs. And they'd be lying to you right now if they said that they thought they would make the playoffs. Now, did they go? But obviously they won a game as well. And so I don't see any reason. And every year, there are teams that made the playoffs last year or the year prior to, and they don't make it the next year for whatever reason. Attrition hits a lot of teams in NFL. That being said, as long as there are no key injuries, Montez Sweat, for example, Keenan and or DJ, maybe another player here or there, as long as there are no key injuries and no long-standing key injuries, I see zero reasons, none yet. I see zero reasons why the Bears should not win double-digit victories and with that be in line to make the playoffs. Now, if they lose because they're tied 10-7 and tiebreakers and they can't make it as the 7th team, they went up to 8th team, I can give a little latitude there. But really, I see nothing less than 10 games. I see 11-6, and I think that should put them squarely in the playoffs.
Now that we got, Caleb, pretty set in that position that everybody knows is kind of, foregone conclusion, what are the possibilities for the ninth overall pick? You mentioned earlier that it could be an offensive weapon, but what are some of the other possibilities for that ninth pick with the Bears? You mentioned they could hope to acquire, another edge rusher. Where do you see them going?
Yeah, man, that is like a gazillion-dollar question, and with all the different mock drafts I've done so many different variations of it. Up until maybe about a week or two ago, I was convinced, just like I was prior to, that the Bears need to trade down. Get a haul. I'm still in the get something, because this is such a talent-laden draft at all the positions that we need the most help in. Receiver, edge position, offensive line. So I really felt quarterback. I really felt that this was a draft that the more picks you have, the better you can insulate your team against the rigors of the NFL. There's so many unpredictable things can happen. You want to have that depth to be able to contend with that unpredictability. That being said, to answer your question, Joe, at 9, I came around to thinking this is probably going to be the year that you do as much as you can to insulate, invest in your quarterback as much as possible. And if you get a Doomsday, if he's there, if he's available, I think Neighbors would be gone before then. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. would be gone before then. If you acquire a Doomsday, if he's there, if a Doomsday's there, I believe that the Bears are going to take him for several reasons. One, as we mentioned before, you have the other receivers in tow, DJ and Keenan Allen. And actually, my comp for a Doomsday is Keenan Allen. To me, like he's a little faster, Keenan Allen.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say just a little more speed. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But in terms of being smooth in and out of your routes, the ability to track the ball over either shoulder, be able to play inside outside, to be able to run well after the catch. They're not twitchy athletes, but they're very smooth. They're very capable. They're reliable. They're efficient. They're efficient receivers, and they're consistent. And they rise to the occasions. The moment never seems to get too big for them. So to learn from someone to be your mentor that's pretty much like you in a way, I think will help him. Not only that, but a Doomsday is an excellent blocker downfield, and that's something that plays well into the Bears' offense. At least it has in the past. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. Shane Waldron's been really good with the running game. That's something that was an emphasis in Seattle as well. So I think that plays well. But here's the cool thing about it is that a Doomsday will be able to grow in tandem with Caleb. It helps you when Keenan Allen, who's had an injury history throughout his career, if he goes down, you have another receiver. But not only that, Keenan's in the latter years. He may or may not re-up with the Bears. He may decide to retire or whatever. But you don't expect him to be the Bears more than maybe another 2 years, if that. A Doomsday can learn and grow. You get a receiver, and outside of quarterback, receiver is the other position that gets a lot of money when it comes to that second contract. So you get an extra year with him and your quarterback at the same time. So that helps out. But in terms of on the field during game day, he is not going to be double teamed, folks. That you can't afford to double team because you got DJ Moore, you got Keenan Allen, you got Cole Kmet, you have running backs that you have to account for. He's going to be single covered. There might be a little safety help shadowing here and there, like a little place help. He has the speed that the other guy, DJ's got pretty good speed, but Keenan doesn't have the speed that he used to. A Doomsday is going to be able to stretch the field, so it helps everything underneath. Not only that, but that single coverage means he's facing either the second or third best defensive back on the team. And I like for the Bears to be able to leverage that in their favor as well. So I think it's really key to get a Doomsday because he does so much for you now. And invariably, he's going to be there to do so much for you in the upcoming years when it comes to contract situations. To Keenan and or DJ move on, you have someone that, again, has grown and established synergy with Caleb from day one. So I think that's why it's a Doomsday, and that's why I've settled on that. But if a Doomsday is gone, to your question, Joe, or tangential, or in addition to that, my 1B situation would be if they can find a trade partner to trade down. The Eagles, they seem to trade with them every year. So that's one of the teams that I've pointed, and I can see the Eagles wanting to move up for one of two positions, either cornerback and either getting Terrion Arnold out of Alabama or Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo, or edge rusher. They let Hassan Reddick go, and Huff, I think it's Bryce Huff, is that his name? I believe that. Him and the long-term other edge rusher has been there forever. Names escape me right now. These guys they'll be free agents next year, and so they're not going to sign both of them. And so maybe an edge rusher and someone who, again, they can get him on a fifth year option, the first rounder, and someone whose game is similar to Hassan Reddick's in body type to some degree, a little bit not as he's not as twitchy as Hassan, but he's very athletic, and that would be Jared Verse. I think that'd be someone that they can go for. Now, we will talk a little bit later on about the Falcons situation, because if that's the case and everybody moves up, they may want to trade with the Bears, and maybe Dallas Turner appeals to them. But I think Jared Verse plays with his hand on the ground more than Turner does, and I think Verse seems to fit their scheme a little bit more than Turner. But if the Bears can trade down, then I can see it being with the Eagles for the reasons why the Eagles want to go to 8 or 9, if that's the case. The Bears going back up to 22, what that avails for them, they can still get an edge rusher at 22 and or another receiver. I love Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. I mean, he's really, really good. And if you really pay attention to his skill set and see how he moves, he just fluid in and out of his breaks. For a guy with his length and his speed, sometimes you don't expect him to be as efficient and crisp with their routes. He's very good in and out of his breaks, very consistent. His elongated stride has a tendency to throw some defenders off. And he's able to break his routes off and cut them off and come back to the ball quickly. He's able to do double moves with almost like seamless when he does his double moves. Really good hands. He does a great job. Soft hands, catches the ball in his hands. The only issue I have with Brian Thomas Jr., his contested catches. He needs to get stronger and better and more consistent with that. But his post fade routes are deadly because of his length. And Caleb being accurate, you throw that over the outside shoulder, you can't defend it. And he also gives you that speed, that 0 to 60 speed. He can score from anywhere on the field. I really like his upside. So if the Bears do trade down into the 20s, if he's available, if someone else doesn't snatch him up, I can see him being available. And if they do, Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. He's more physical. Yeah, he's more physical. Mm-hmm. But again, you're talking about a guy that's got 4.38 speed, and then Brian Thomas has 4.33 speed. So again, both guys will have to do what I said Odunze can do, but they would actually be faster doing it or more quick. Their splits are a little bit faster than him, and they've got that speed to take the top off as well. And Mitchell's, again, a good blocker downfield, very physical. I don't think he's as smooth a catcher. Sometimes he fights the ball a little bit, but it's not like he can't catch the ball. And, he'll only get better. And again, the upside is with any receiver the Bears take in the first round, they're going to be facing second or third quality defensive backs, and they won't be double covered. Can you imagine Mitchell or Thomas not being double covered and just getting up on top of the safety or behind a cornerback so quickly, and Caleb seeing him? I mean, it can be dangerous. And with all that attention going downfield, the underneath is there. I can see Swift doing Texas routes, and I can see even Caleb, when he does his scramble drill or when he breaks containment, he's playing out of structure. I can see him running up 15, 20 yards as well. So that's what I see. And the Bears, if they do trade back with the Eagles, maybe get their 53rd pick or maybe even the 50th pick from the Eagles, but get a second-round pick and then get your edge rusher there. And I love. I don't know if I mentioned love enough. I love Braylon Trice. Yeah, Braylon Trice, really, I think he's, for the Bears' purposes, for a 4-3 defensive scheme, that defensive edge in a more traditional sense, he gives you the size, he gives you the length. He doesn't have that quick burst, but he's got a good stride. He's like a loping stride. He gets to you very quickly. He plays angles extremely well, so the quarterbacks don't really get away from him. He cuts off your angles. He's very decisive when he comes after you, and he's very good against the run. He holds up well at the point of attack. He can string out the run. He's very smart. He doesn't overplay. He doesn't rush upfield and get himself out of the play. And just think about this. You got a guy like Braylon Trice. You have him. He's about 6'4". Then you have, maybe you slide DeMarcus. And just talk about maybe like on third down I'm talking about here. You slide Walker inside. He's 6'4", 280. And you keep Dexter from Florida. Thank you, Dexter. It's 6'6" on the interior, 6'6", 312. You've got Montez. That's a lot of length at the line of scrimmage. These guys don't have to necessarily sack you to apply pressure. And what did Braylon Trice do last year? He led the nation in pressures at 79. So I just see someone like him fitting so well schematically what the Bears do. And he'll play right away. And not only that, but I think he's more of a every down back than some of these other defensive edge than some of these other guys that are just more pass rusher oriented. So I love Braylon Trice. He would be there in the second round, and that would be someone that I would love for the Bears to trade back and get those two picks. But it's not going to happen because I want it to happen, so it's not going to happen. So they're going to take somebody at 9. So I hope I answered your short question with like a 7-minute answer.
So what do you think they do here if they trade down, if it gets to 9 and Joe Alt is available? All right.
Nope.
No, huh?
No, because they want a swing tackle. I get that, but I believe you can either get that in free, whether toward the end of the summer or midsummer. There'll be somebody available that you can have as a swing tackle. I think next year that may be something they may invest in. I think this year is more so specific to getting weapons to help out. Braxton is really did well last year, especially after, I want to say about maybe the second week in October, he was fine. Penalties weren't happening. You didn't hear his name. That's how you know he was doing good.
Right.
And obviously Darnell Wright is extremely competent. on the other side. And these are both athletic tackles. Joe Alt, I think they need weapons more than they need blocking right now, which sounds weird. If anything, the blocking they need, if you want to sell me on Talisi Fawaga, that makes more sense to me on the interior, because I'm more concerned about Tevin's health. I don't believe Tevin is going to stay healthy for 17 games. I don't know about the new center. We'll find out. And hopefully Nate Davis just had an anomalous year last year, which is more of an anomaly than him. Then that's what is the case going forward. So I hope that he's back to form. But if that interior is where I'm more concerned, not the exterior. Now, that being said, if the Bears do take the 9th pick, I still think they have a possibility to trade down. Now, the next pick is 75 after 9. It's a 3rd-round pick. You can still trade down. You can trade down and maybe get a lower 3rd-round pick, say at 93, and then get a 4th-round pick, say at like 112, 114. Somewhere around there. The team I'm talking about is the Baltimore Ravens. They could trade down with the Baltimore Ravens. I can see the Ravens moving up to get a specific player because they have enough picks. And even if they do move up with the Bears, the Ravens will still have a pick in every round. I think they'd have 2 at the end, 2 and 7 at the end of it. But that would be something that I could see happening, because if anything, polls have shown us he does business or repeat business with people that he's had good dealings with. The Eagles obviously stick out, but also Roquan, it worked out for the Bears, and it worked out for Roquan. And I can see the Bears revisiting that relationship potentially, or the Ravens revisiting that relationship with Chicago, saying, hey, we know you need a few more picks. We want this specific person. It's in the other conference, so there's not a conflict of interest in the Bears situation in terms of feeling like you're helping an enemy out, so to speak, or a division rival or a conference rival. And then the Bears can get a couple more picks. And if they do that, to your point, maybe they can find an additional lineman in that case. Maybe a Kieran Amigaji. I'm killing the name, but
Yale.
Yeah. When I see the name, I can say it, but right now I can't visualize the spelling of the last name. I know it's Amengaji, I think.
So you're saying he's staying away from Pittsburgh, then, is what you're saying? He's not even trying to holler at Pittsburgh.
What not? I mean, he may. You never know. Pittsburgh may want to move up, and that's a possibility too. I mean, Pittsburgh tends to seem to get the better of the deals with us. So I would stay away. I would stay away. But then again, hey, if it works out for them, I think when they go to Pittsburgh for the deal, I think we get screwed over. Maybe if Pittsburgh gives us something, maybe we'll be less screwed over. Maybe that's a possibility.
Well, I don't know if we want another one of their. We got, what's his name, Chase Claypool from them. So I don't know about that.
None of the players. We don't want any of their cast off.
Just picks.
Right.
Yeah, just
picks. Okay, guys, we're joined by Glynn Morgan from NBC Sports Chicago, talking Bears football here on the Bears Den here in WARR Media and SportsZone Chicago. Is this the first year that Matt Eberflus can truly be evaluated? All right, his first year they tore it down. Last year they were rebuilding the defense, rebuilding the offense. Seems like they got they have a brand new OC. They have a defense that's set up. Is this the year that Brian Poles can truly give him a good evaluation?
No, bro. I think last year was a good year. It's not so much about the players. It's not so much about your record per se. It's what you're doing in and out of every situation you find yourself in. The Bears face a different type of adversity last year. You lose your defensive coordinator before the season begins for nefarious dealings outside of football, to say the least, right? And then you lose another one of your coaches as well. And you don't have an edge rusher because you didn't draft one. And your secondary's banged up starting out. And your offensive coordinator's not helping you out much. And you're losing games, defensively at a historic clip in terms of the amount of points you're allowing, and how you're able to keep everyone on the same page is part of coaching. So I think that evaluation happened last year. I think that's why he has the job. I think why he wasn't let go, because he was able to hold it together. And then when they got him a couple of pieces to help him out, and when the defense got a little more healthy, and when the offensive line got a little more healthy, but more specifically the defense, you saw that defense flip a gear. Like they figured it out, they understood, and you saw the players stop thinking and just playing and reacting. and working in unison. There's a synchronicity with that defense that really showed that they were being coached well. And here's the difference I say between Getz, the former offensive coordinator, and Getsy, I'm sorry, the former offensive coordinator, and Eberflus. To me, Getsy, nobody developed underneath him, not just the quarterback. I'm looking at all the other skill positions. Anybody, not DJ Moore, who wasn't already commit, maybe you could argue that. But again, commit, he was here already. So he had a year without Getsy. So I don't know how much Getsy really helped him.
Right.
But really, you look at the skill positions, and he underutilized in running backs. He couldn't figure out 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. He couldn't figure it out all year. And these are things that have nothing to do with Justin. Nothing to do with Justin. I'm taking Justin out of the equation. I'm just talking about as an offensive coordinator, where I believe he was inefficient and really failed the team in some respects. Conversely, Eberflus, you saw everybody being used. Sometimes he got a little too creative. He's got guys who are 300 pounds dropping into coverage. Just don't do that again.
Yeah.
But you saw the younger players really develop. You saw my guy Stevenson. You saw him develop
big time.
To me, and again, I said before the year began, I thought he could have been Defensive Player of the Year. You look at his stats, he should have been in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He had an exceptional rookie season for a cornerback, especially on a bad team, or struggling team. And then you look at Smith, the other cornerback that was drafted out of Minnesota. He came on strong. Not to mention the second-year guys developed, and Gordon and Brisker. And you saw the linebackers, because that pretty much was almost a whole new front seven in some respects. Yep. You saw those guys learn and develop and grow, and you saw the growth, and you saw people being utilized and developed. So, yeah, I think Eberflus I think last year was the first year you could really, take out your grade book on him and see what he was doing. And I think he passed. I think in some levels it might have been a C or C+, but other levels it was a B+.
Well, there's the number one rated defense in the last 6 weeks of the year. So it's, I think they finally hit their stride. I think the Montez Sweat effect really took hold, and they're understanding how to play off of him and him playing off the rest of the defense. I mean, and I understand that the schedule, the teams that they faced toward the end might not have been some of the tougher teams, but they're still NFL teams. And the fact of the matter is that, they're still they get a check too, just like the Bears did, and they're trying to win everything. And so you know what, you hold that number one spot, the best defense in the last 6 weeks of the year, with Javon Dexter finally understanding his new role. All right, because that hadn't happened in the beginning of the year. There's a lot of upside with that defense.
Yeah, not only that, but keep in mind, we weren't a good team, so it wasn't like we were the Chiefs and we were beating bad teams. We were considered a bad team too. so we were the tallest short person when it came to that. But we were beating. Well, I didn't want to say that. I don't like you. I try to be careful of that word these days. I don't want to offend anybody. I'll just say the tallest short person. So. But yeah, I mean, so we were a bad team. We're still finished 7-10, so we weren't a winning team. So by definition, we were a bad team. We were just better at being less worse than the other teams were. So no, it's relevant. Is my point. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sean, that what we did is relevant to the situation, our situation, and going forward, that's a great step to build on. So back to your original query, I believe Eberflus's evaluation began last year, and I think this year it continues to see if you can keep it going forward. So I think the evaluation is different. I don't think it's the first one. I think it's he's being evaluated differently. Now I think he's going to be evaluated more as a head coach, because last year he kind of had to take a step back and be the coordinator as well, understandably so. But his flexibility, his adjustment, him probably not complaining about things, all those things worked in his favor. So we'll see what kind of leader he is. We'll see how flexible, we can grade him more now on decisions that a head coach has to make during game time. Whereas last year, you might have given a little more latitude because his attention might have been a bit divided, having to probably be 80-20 coordinator as opposed to, 80-20 head coach.
Glynn, you mentioned earlier that you believe the Bears have what it takes to make the playoffs, but you also mentioned that Caleb, your expectations for Caleb would be limited. So with the Bears, being playoff.
Let me correct you. They're not limited. I was joking when I said it
Okay.
before. No, hell no.
Okay.
He wants to be legendary. So no, I expect playoffs.
I got you. Okay. I
Yeah,
got you. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure put on him. What does, what is this going to look like as far as, a season where Bears make it to the playoffs? So, are we expecting CJ Stroud like numbers, or, with the way he's been insulated, what do we expect? Are we expecting to see the best rookie season from a quarterback ever?
I don't care. That doesn't matter.
Okay.
I just need you to win. To
Mm-hmm.
get caught up in the numbers ahead of time, I think that's the fan. That's the fantasy football fan in us too, and that's something we can talk and speculate on. But no, he just needs to come in and win. And I don't care the pressure. I think there's not as much pressure on him as we think there is. I don't think there's any more pressure we're putting on him that he puts on himself to begin with. And again, if you listen to some of his interviews, you can tell like he is hyper focused like that. He's completely self-aware. Pressure is like, dude, they've done everything to support him to ease the pressure. So there should be less pressure on him. I mean, really, it's. I'm not saying it's going to be easy because again, the guys have to stay healthy. You know, teams have to work together. But for all intents and purposes, it's like, bro, you got to hand off to those guys behind you who are all good. You get to throw to one of three guys that should be open at any time, and a fourth one if you throw in Cole Kmet. Your coordinator should probably put you in situations where you're advantageous as opposed to putting you in situations where you're being disadvantaged. And your defense, if you do make a mistake, will probably put you in a better situation. You won't, they probably won't be extended, that like length of downs because their defense will get off the field. And I think the Bears ended up leading the year last year, or tied for most interceptions last year. I think the Bears will have no less than 18 interceptions this year. And I know that seems like a lot, but I think they'll exceed that. But the reason why I say that is because Eberflus, his defenses, even going back to the Colts, and Sean, you and I have talked about it before too, they've been good at creating pressure.
Yep.
And that pressure causes turnovers. And with the ball hawking secondary that we have, with the linebackers that can catch the ball, with a linebacker who's 6'5", 250, who can cover laterally across and also drop deep into coverage, and with a defensive line who are long and tall, it is going to be difficult to pass the ball when we know you have to pass the ball. There's going to be a lot of tip passes. There's going to be a lot of errant throws, and the Bears are going to feast on that, just like we saw them do the end of last year. I mean, they had about a stretch where I think they had about maybe 8 interceptions in 3 games or something like that. It was crazy. So I see them, doing that, but more of a sustained results throughout the course of the season. So they might average like 2.5 turnovers a game or something like that, or maybe even more, or 1.78 interceptions. Yeah, but and we're not even talking about forced fumbles. I'm just right. But just that pressure to cause interceptions, they'll be good at that. And if you think about the Lovie Smith defenses, it was predicated on turnovers. And I know turnovers, you can't count on them in terms of the number. You don't know what you're going to have from year to year. And if you have a really good year, you don't necessarily expect to have a similar year. That being said, you can look back at the Lovie Smith defenses and even the Tampa Bay under Dungy. They tend to have double-digit, interceptions. The turnovers are there. Now, whether or not it's 41 year and 28 the other year, they still force them. And then they're quality turnovers. When you force a turnover and you score off of it, it's better than if you force a turnover and you just get the ball, midfield or whatever. So yeah, man, I think that the pressure on Caleb, that's just us thinking he has pressure. I don't think that young man's going to have a lot of pressure on him other than what he already expects and what he places on himself.
You talked about, Coach, and again, guys, we're joined by Glynn Morgan from NBC Sports Chicago, talking Bears football here on Bears Den. You talked about Coach Eberflus and going back and forth, head coach DC. How long do you think before he hands over the DC calls to Eric Washington, who's a former DC, phenomenal defensive line coach, who I'm expecting to maximize the talent of Javon Dexter, of Zach Pickens, of a DeMarcus Walker, of Billings, and of a Sweat. Okay, right. But how long do you think before he hands those duties over to him?
That's a great question, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people have. I don't think he will. It's funny you asked. I thought I'm thinking like, man, is he? And the reason why I say that is because how quickly he responded. It was either at the combine or not too long after the combine where he's like, oh no, I'm calling the plays. I'm like, oh okay, you making sure you keeping your job. I understand. You like, you know what? Not, so it's going to be, just think Andy Reid in some respects, in terms like Andy Reid is still known for calling plays, but he'll say, oh no, my offensive coordinators, they were involved in the game planning. So that's what you're going to get. Or same thing with Sean McVay. Oh no, my guys were involved in the game planning. Yeah, but on the sidelines, he's calling the plays. So I think Eberflus is like, nah, I think I'll do better at keeping my job and doing what I do best, and that's being the coordinator. But these guys will be involved in the game planning, and they're instrumental and crucial to our success. I think that's how that's going to play itself out.
Okay. Well, Glynn, we thank you for your time, man. We appreciate it. Before you go, do me a favor. Let everyone know where they can find you and your work online.
Man, hey, hopefully everywhere, but definitely on X or Twitter at Real Glynn Morgan, at True Glynn Morgan, and hey, check on YouTube, all the different platforms. This coming up week, I'll be on Football Night in Chicago. We've got a preview show this Wednesday on NBC Sports Chicago. So catch me out there. And then also the draft show itself Thursday night, and a reaction show Thursday night. Will be involved in that. And I've got another mock draft that'll be coming out either Tuesday or Wednesday, but probably tomorrow sometime. Maybe late tomorrow. Final mock draft, the one that'll be perfect, that have everything right, the exact thing. You know exactly where all the players are going, from the Bears to the Saints to the Houston Texans, and even the New York Jets. So yeah, we'll have that all set out. So any and all things NBC Sports Chicago. And again, just type in the name on YouTube, man, and see. Go on the journey and see where you find me.
Dude, great stuff, man. I appreciate it as always. And I would invite you to our draft party, but I know you got to be at work over at NBC Studios. So it's at our spot too. So.
Oh, see, now you heard the brother. That was a kidney punch, man. We pull up the punches, Tyson. Come on.
One point. Keep them up. Yeah, so we'll be over at Output on Thursday, 6 o'clock, six to like about 8-ish. Probably, okay. Basically after the Bears pick, whether it's 9 or whether they trade back 11, 12, 13, whatever it is, right. We'll go until that point. So yeah, it'll be a good time. But yeah, we'll definitely have you back here. And I mean, you got to hit some lunch again over at Output. And this time it's on me. This time it's on me.
No doubt. We got you on the airwaves saying it, man. So no doubt. But I appreciate it, Joe, Sean. Thank you very much. Saul, thank you as well. My guy over at NBC Sports as well. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me again. And go Bears, right?
Bear down, baby. I'm fired up, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good this Thursday. All right, man. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Glynn.
All right, guys. Peace.
All righty. Guys, that's Glynn Morgan from NBC Sports Chicago. Man, I love talking with Glynn, man. It's great. Very he's very well thought out, his takes. So, but yeah, it's gonna be fun, Joe. It's gonna be fun Thursday, Output Lounge. Tons of giveaways. Just in case you didn't see, I put them all over there. We got a couple knit winter hats, fleece lined hats. We got a Bears Gatorade towel. We got we have 4 Chicago Bear Gatorade squeeze bottles. We got a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we're only going to be there for about 2 hours, so we got about 8, maybe 10 giveaways. All right, so make sure you get there. The raffles are free, so as soon as you come in, you get a ticket. And it's going to be fun. We got the back room. We're going to be doing our own commentary. They have the volume down on the TV. We're going to be talking, and the people are going to be listening to us. So it's going to be a really, really good thing. And then again, they have the best wings in the city, so it's going to be popping. So if you can, guys, make sure you tune in or you come by Output Lounge. The draft starts at 7. Our show starts at 6. I highly suggest you get there around 5 between 5 and 5:30. It will fill. All right, it will fill up, and it's going to be one hell of a time. So it's a good place to wrap it up. Hey, listen, Joe, thanks for coming on today, Papa. I appreciate it. We also big shout outs to Glynn Morgan from NBC Sports Chicago for joining us, talking Bears football here on Bears Den. Man, it's going to be. I'm telling you, I'm really excited. And
yeah, I mean, this is history in the making. And I think I'm getting excited. I'm starting to get excited. like everybody else, I was sad to see our guy go, but I'm excited for the possibilities. I think Caleb is a different cat. And I think and him being so different, with his personality, and Glenn mentioned how hyper focused he was. I think that's going to be, I think he's going to be good, end up being good for the Bears.
The kid's talent was never the issue, right? It never was. We had I was on earlier with Adam Rank, and he mentioned the passion when he was crying, and there's just still some things that I have a gut feeling about him, and believe me, and people have said, "Oh, it's because you're a big Justin fan." I said, "No, it's because I've coached for 15 years, 16, almost 20 years. I've coached. All right, I've dealt with all types of players. Okay, there's just something about him. All right, and the thing that I have, and I wish him well. I'm not saying he's a jerk. I'm not saying he might be. And actually, I wouldn't mind if our quarterback's a bit of an asshole. I really wouldn't. All right. I need, I want him talking shit. I want him to be hated by our division. I want other fan bases to just despise him the way we despise Aaron Rodgers, the way we despise Brett Favre. I want our division rivals to despise him like that. All right. There are just some things I'm still a little leery with him, and I hope he proves me wrong. Hope he proves me wrong, because I think the kid's talent is off the charts, and he's stepped in a great situation. And when it all comes down, it all comes down to it. I root for the Bears. I love the Bears. I have players that I like, but I want the Bears to do well. And if this guy is able to handle that maturity, is mature enough to handle all the situations that come, and becoming a leader here when the locker room belonged to somebody else last year, and then the better he does, the better the Bears do, and that's in essence, ultimately, that's what I want. I want the Bears to do well.
No doubt.
I'm tired of it was January 27th of 1986 was the last time we hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. I mean, man, that's generations. You got kids, got kids, grandkids, and great grandkids, since then. And so, we're looking, and hopefully this is the beginning of something special, man. So I'm getting excited for it. But I'm not going to hold him to any other standard. I would have held Justin to 10 wins next year as well. All right, especially now that you got, to me, Joe, the most important thing was the play caller with Shane Waldron. That, to me, that was the most important thing. It is putting a young man, a quarterback, in a position to be successful. I know it sounds very cliche-ish, but man, it is so it rings so true.
It is, and I think to what you're saying, it's real easy to mess this up. And we've seen it lots of times before with Ryan Leaf. Players like that, who've gone number one and don't necessarily pan out. We've seen teams mess this up, and it's still no guarantee, but what you mentioned before, the capability of the coaching now and bettering play caller is going to help out tremendously. And we talked about it during the show. He's been he's going to fall into a great spot, for a rookie. Like Glenn said, there's not going to be much pressure. I think the pressure is going to come from the fans, but for him, realistically, like Glenn was able to point out, it's not going to really, because you have playmakers, and and I think that's the big key now. Is that the team is is set to win.
It is, and it does make it a lot easier when you have a running game, which is why the center position was so important, which is why the depth in the offensive line. If Tevin can stay healthy, if Nate Davis can stay healthy, and we can run that ball. Shane Waldron likes to run, 2 and 3 tight end sets. Dude, I love it. I love it. I mean, you talk about taking pressure off of a young man, quarterback. One of the things that people talk to, and you mentioned it, like CJ Stroud. Like, I don't need a CJ Stroud type of year. All right. I need a year where we run the ball down people's throats. All right, because that's going to help Caleb Williams. That's going to help the quarterback. That's going to help them, because now when you're able to get 3, 4, 5 yards a pop, and all of a sudden now it's 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, man, that entire playbook is open. All right. And, your ability when a defense knows that you can get 2 yards on 3rd and 2, all right, they can't just bring in a nickel package. They can't bring in a dime package. All right. Because they do, that's less in the front 7. And all of a sudden now you're just giving up the first down. So the ability to run the ball is going to be huge. And then when you do bring in the 7, right, now you got a guy in Keenan Allen who knows how to just shred and finds a soft spot in all zones. You got DJ Moore, the Mr. Yak himself, yards after catch. All right, then you're going to have a speedster in Romeo Dunze, and you still have Tyler Scott, you still have Bayless Jones. And then you still have Cole Kmet. So again, to me, the most important thing was Shane Waldron, his ability to maximize these players and make it a lot easier for Caleb. Caleb didn't have anyone to throw to except Brendan Rice last year, for all intents and purposes. Now you're getting 2 Pro Bowl receivers, Pro Bowl caliber tight end, Pro Bowl running back. Like, you got Pro Bowlers all on that. All your weapons are Pro Bowlers. So it's going to be a whole different story. And, look what happened. We had when Justin had, top-notch receivers at Ohio State, took them to the college football playoffs twice. Caleb Williams won the Heisman. When he had better receivers, had Jordan Addison. Right, he didn't have as many last year, but he still showed out. So you put better players around a really good player, his performance is going to rise. So that's a reason I'm excited, man. It's a reason I'm looking forward to it. I'm still going to be a Justin Fields fan, and I think people don't understand, and it's some of the meathead idiots, is that just because I'm a Justin Fields fan doesn't mean I can't root for Caleb.
Right.
All right. It doesn't mean I can't root for Caleb. All right.
Right.
Everyone made it seem like it's one or the other. Like I still, I thought Justin was the better option for this team, but at this point, it's a moot point. So me thinking that, it's gone. All right, he's gone.
Right.
So
right.
Fan, and I want my Bears to do well. So I'm going to root for the players that we have. So,
no doubt.
It's going to be, the next couple of days are still going to be fun, still going to be exciting, because at number 9, and there's going to be something crazy like JJ McCarthy. Someone's going to jump up and take him in the top 5. All right. Someone jumps up and takes him in the top 5. And then if Atlanta loses a pick, maybe they're talking about the swap with Minnesota, or maybe just they might lose it altogether. That's what Ian Rappaport said. No, Adam Schefter, excuse me. They might lose the pick altogether. If they do, man, that just bumps everybody up, or I should say bumps a lot more talent down to the Bears. Now what do you do?
Right.
So a lot of storylines unfolding, a lot of possibilities, and but I'll tell you what, come Thursday night, Chicago Bear fans are going to be pretty happy. Pretty happy. So, hey, for everyone here at SportsZone Chicago and WARR Media, we thank you for tuning in. Again, remember, guys, if you're in Chicagoland area, come check us out on Thursday. All right, 6:00. We'll be at Output Lounge, 1758 West Grand Avenue in Chicago, literally right down the street, right down Wood Street from the United Center in Westtown. Get there early. I say get there between 5 and 5:30. We start at 6. It is going to get packed. It was packed last year when we did the show. We've done a broadcast from there before. It gets packed. It gets packed. The best wings in the city. Make sure you get there. It's going to be one heck of a time. That, my peoples, I can promise you. So for everyone here at SportsZone Chicago, for everyone here at WARR Media, for my guy Joe Tanksley, give us some goodbyes. Give us some pleasantries on the way out.
Hey, check me out on Twitter and Instagram. We'll see you Thursday. Peace.
Guys, we'll see you on Thursday. You'll see me tomorrow at 1 o'clock. What's tomorrow? Tuesday at 1 o'clock. You'll see me on my personal page on SportsZone Chicago's Roku channel. You'll see me tomorrow with my daily Bears talk with Nomad. You can catch me there tomorrow. So I will be on the rest of the week, and then Thursday I'm super duper excited. Tons of giveaways, tons of throughout the event. Like I said, 8 to 10 giveaways for 2 hours. Man, that's like every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Not every 10 minutes. We got it after every draft pick. It might just be after every draft pick. Bump it. Who cares? All right. So for everyone here at SportsZone Chicago and WARR Media, guys, you have a great night. time.
Peace.